they looked for other countries and they established themselves slowly and gradually at that time. One of the town they founded was on the coast of Turkey. They named it Byzantium. After a while, Byzantium changed its name to Constantinople, and it was renamed Istanbul later on, which is a very famous city in modern day Turkey. So this is something which the old Greeks gave it to the modern international system. Megarians, like all Greeks, were trained warriors, and Spartans might be the best warriors, but all Greek citizens knew how to fight. So the early military strategy, early you can say military, you know, techniques, naval force, and all these things were early, given by the Greece. Megarians would fight if they had to, but they would much rather trade or negotiate. So they were just like Chinese, and they were not, prone to war. They were more focused on the soft image and trade and negotiations. In the ancient Greek world, Megara was famous for its textiles, and everybody wanted their richly colored and beautifully designed fabrics. So this is what improved their international relations, and their relation with other countries, other city states. So sometimes they could talk their way out of trouble simply by trading their glorious textiles. So this was another technique. Same concept was also derived by the Chinese, and the Chinese also traded in silk, and which pushed Chinese to establish Silk Route, and which connected the whole civilization later on. Argos was another city-state in the ancient Greek, but Argos itself was built on a plain. It was very hot in summer and cold in winter. The soil was poor. The people of the city-state of Argos had trouble growing crops, so they became leaders in trade. So they used to trade with other city-states. They used to move around, and they used to so this is the concept of international trade, which the people later on derived from these city-states. So because they traded with all other Greek city-states, they invented their own coinage, and this invention made trading a lot easier for them. Like all the Greek city-states except for Sparta, the people of city-states of Argos built sculptures of athletes with perfect bodies and huge muscles, and you can find these sculptures in modern times as well. They wrote plays, they wrote poetry as well, and their musicians performed in open arenas. They loved arts, and they were very good at them. The people of Argos were ruled by a king, and 6 mile distance from the city of Mykene lay the ancient city of Argos even today. Founded by Phoronicius and named after his son, Argos is the second oldest city of Greece, which give you an idea how the early city states and nation states they emerged, and how the international relations emerged. In the old times, it was such significance that Homer called all the Peloponnesian and often the rest of the Greek Argians. So Argos had a huge influence over these civilizations. During the 7th century BC, at the times of tyrant Phaedon, who introduced weights and measures in Peloponnese, and according to Aristotle, he invented coinage. Argos reached its highest power. Though Argives were able warriors, defeating Sparta at one of the war and in the Battle of Champions. At the same time, they cultivated the arts, producing masterpieces, reaching their highest point culturally all the times of Agiliads and other things. So basically, the idea behind telling you all these things, all these city states, is to just to let you know that how the international relations emerged. So whenever you get any question like this, the evolution of international relations, you can give reference of these city states, so you can fetch good marks. So why did Greece develop city states? What was the reason behind? And the one major reason why ancient Greece was dominated by small city-states and independent towns rather than by one all-powerful king is its geography. The country's mountainous terrain, many isolated valleys, and numerous offshore islands encouraged the formation of many local centers of power. rather than one all-powerful capital. So basically, at that time, they were geographically dispersed in that area. So they wanted their own capital, they wanted their own city-state. So they wanted their own system. Another key factor influencing the formation of city-states rather than kingdoms was the Mediterranean, समंदर जो था वहाँ पे. Such a calm and easily navigable sea provided the Greeks with an opportunity to found new colonies in times of crisis and overpopulation. So they were open. So they could go and move around and get more and more areas. जो भी isolated islands होते थे उस पे जाके बातचीत पकड़ लो. It also appealed to their sense of heroism and adventure. So they were, great people. Starting in the 8th century BC, colonies were eventually founded all over the Mediterranean, from Naples in Italy to Marseilles in France, Cyrene in northern Africa, Byzantium close to Black Sea, and numerous cities all along the western coast of modern day Turkey. तो ये सारी सिटी स्टेट्स इन्होंने शुरू में ये जितनी भी कॉलोनीज थी इन्होंने एस्टैब्लिश की अर्ली ग्रीस में. These colonies remained in contact with their mother cities and acknowledged their blood ties with them. But in most, other respects, they soon acted independently of them. So slowly and gradually, previously they were connected with their mother city states, and later on they became independent. So this is also another development in the evolution of international relations. A final reason behind the development of city-state was the Greek aristocracy, who acted, to prevent any permanent monarchies from forming. They defended the political independence of their cities vigorously. As a result, any individual who did manage to take over a city could only hope to do so for a short time as a tyrant rather than a king. So ultimately, they believed in this particular thing. If you look at the religion in the old city-states, the Greek religion was based on worship of nature and of a group of superhuman gods and goddesses. The most powerful and famous of these was Zeus, and you will find there in their old scriptures and all these things, you will find the mention of Zeus. Other famous gods and goddesses were Apollo, Aphrodite, Athena, Hades, and Poseidon. So basically, these were the things. अच्छा ये जो एक मैं छोटा सा रेफरेंस आपको बताता चलूँ ये पॉइजडॉन के बारे में. ये जो पॉइजडॉन है ये जो था इनका समंदर का इनका खुदा था, गॉड था. अच्छा अभी अमेरिका ने अपना एक जहाज बनाया है मैरीटाइम सर्वेलेंस के नाम से, इसकी ना पॉइजडॉन के नाम से, पॉइजडॉन PATI भी कहते हैं उसको. That particular aircraft is used for the maritime surveillance, and this is highly sophisticated aircraft. So it was just a reference to this particular thing. The Greeks told all kings of kinds of fanciful tales about their gods and goddesses. Many times they interacted with people, other times they did great or terrible things on their own. तो इस चीज को ये लोग बहुत ज्यादा वैल्यू देते थे. The Greeks had many religious festivals. The Olympics were actually a religious festival dedicated to the great god Zeus, जिसके अंदर ये बहुत सारी खेल कूद वगैरह वगैरह सारी चीजें होती थी. Another great festival was the city Dionysia, which included the performance of plays. So all these modern things you can see in drama and all these things, plays, and it came from the early city states of Greece. The Greeks invented comedy and drama. Great play authors included, Aeschylus, Sophocles, और इतने मुश्किल इनके नाम है कि आप इनको बस रेफरेंस के लिए याद रखें बस. Math, science, and history, all these areas, they had a huge influence, and this was the knowledge which they produced, especially in Athens and Sparta. And these city-states made the most noise and gave us the most traditions were from these city-states. They were close together on a map, yet far apart in what they valued and how they lived their lives. Until Persian Empire, जब तक इन पे हमला नहीं किया, ये अलग-अलग ही थे. उसके बाद इन्होंने मिलके they defeated the Persian Empire. One of the main ways they were similar was in their form of government. Both believed in, democracy. Both Athens and Sparta had an assembly whose members were elected by the people. And Sparta was ruled by two kings who ruled until they died or were forced out of the office. So basically, This was the ancient system. Athens was ruled by